Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world champ. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me. Hey, man, we ready to do it, man. Talk about what went on this weekend. It was hot. It was hectic. But at the end of the day, it was all good. Want to thank everybody in the chat, man, for stepping inside the Hall of Fame, getting your champagne wishes as well as your caviar dreams. Today, we ready to do it, man. I feel good. I'm coming off of a night of Top Golf. Went to Top Golf last night, had a few drinks, and just had a good time. Me and the little woman. We say we got to do this a lot more often. We got to get out. We got to live life because life is short. I want to kick the show off with the passing of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Good friend, man. Paul Orndorff, got a chance to spend some time with him in the WCW there before it got shut down. And Paul was always good dude, man. Paul was always straight up. And you didn't want to mess with Paul Orndorff either because I got a chance to see Paul Orndorff in action at work. We always talk about real locker room fights, and I was asked that question not too long ago. Who had the best real locker room fight? And I had forgotten about the fight between Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and rest in peace, Big Van Vader, center stage. What a fight, man! Mr. Wonderful came out on top in that fight against Big Van Vader.
What were they beefing about?
You know what? I think Vader was Vader was known to be one that could step on some toes. Let's just say that. And I think that day he was in a bad mood, and he crossed Paul Orndorff and pretty much I think he thought he could take Orndorff. It was one of those type of deals, and Orndorff beat the bricks off Big Van Vader. And the most impressive part, and I know there's some guys out there that can collaborate with me as far as this story. There's a bunch of guys out there that can collaborate with me as far as this story goes. Mr. Wonderful had on flip-flops. Like he was going to the beach. Hey, you talk about putting the boots to somebody. Yeah, let's talk about putting the flip-flops to somebody. But
if you beat somebody up in flip flops, you're a bad man.
You got good balance. I do know that.
You got great balance.
But Mr. Wonderful, man, the matches with Hogan back in the day. I mentioned last week how many guys Hogan had to work with back in the day, and somebody disputed with me as far as that goes, but Hogan had so many guys to work with, and Paul Orndorff was one of those guys that, of course, was he the main attraction in that matchup? No, but Hulk Hogan had so many of those guys to go out there to make him. But all of those guys, at the end of the day, there used to be a saying, man, you either wanted to work on top with the guy that was on top.
It's one or the other.
No, I'm serious. And for me personally, I never had a problem with that, man. I never had a problem with saying, hey, man, put me with the top guy. And but Mr. Wonderful, make no mistake about it, he was definitely one of a kind. He was definitely a Hall of Famer. He definitely a star of this business. He definitely turned a lot of heads in his day. Trust me.
I mean, when you think of pro wrestler, you think of somebody who looks like Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. Go through his stats a little bit. He is a WWE Hall of Famer, of course, in the Cauliflower Alley Club Hall of Fame. Also, he's a 3-time Hall of Famer, Book. I don't know if you know this, but he's in the NWA Hall of Fame. Actually, he's also in the Football Hall of Fame for the University of Tampa as well. So this guy definitely had an incredible career, both as a pro wrestler and as a football player. But when you think about Paul Orndorff, for me, I think about Mr. Wonderful. I think about Hogan, which I think that year was called the Feud of the Year in 1986. But I also think of, when you think of that, he was a part of WrestleMania 1, main event. Him and Roddy Piper, along with Cowboy Bob Orton, versus Hogan and Mr. T.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it doesn't. That was the first WrestleMania. So without that, without having the right person across the ring from you, what you do really doesn't matter all that much. And Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper together, we wanted to see this team get taken down, and who better to do it than the Hulkster with Mr. T. So Orndorff essentially is partially responsible for WWE as we know it today, if you look at it that way.
No, he definitely was one of the carpenters of the business. No one can dispute what Paul Orndorff did for the business. He was one of those guys that you love to hate. And his son put something out and said that if you was one of the people that hated Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, he loved you for it.
Right.
And that right there is the true heel of the business right there. Going out there, accepting, nothing but, the fans, boos and whatnot. The guy that don't want the T-shirt, the guy that wanted to be the ultimate heel. That was Paul Orndorff, man. Had so many good times working against a pretty wonderful Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma back in the day in WCW overseas tours, and great times working with Paul Orndorff. 71 years old, passed away, and he lived a full life, but he will definitely be well missed. Definitely be missed, and through wrestling, he'll live forever.
He'll definitely live forever. He's not one to be forgotten at all. So, rest in peace to the legend of Mr. Wonderful. What a great nickname, too. We talk about a great moniker, Mr. Wonderful. Sounds
Think about
great.
Phil Davis. Phil Davis stole that.
That's right.
From, the one and only Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Man, like I say, Paul had great charisma, great style. Everything about Paul Orndorff was, like I say, in that box, star. You know what I mean? I'm serious. So I just want to say that about Paul Orndorff because he's one of those guys. Another guy, Chris Youngblood. A lot of people maybe don't remember the Youngbloods from back in the day, but I wrestled with the Youngbloods back in the Global Wrestling Federation. They worked all the independent scenes back in the day. Chris Youngblood, he passed away. And I just want to mention that because anytime we lose a soldier in this business, he should be mentioned. He should be honored.
Absolutely.
And Chris Youngblood was a guy who gave his all 100% to the wrestling business. Go back and look him up and definitely look at some of his stuff. Him and his brother, they were two Indians, and they definitely played the role all the way to the limit. Yeah.
Yeah, always, a tip of the cap to the guys who helped pave the way and continue to, spread the, incredible business of professional wrestling around the world. So, yeah, we do definitely give them our respect and hope that they, hope that they are remembered forever, which I think they will be, Book.
Yeah, definitely. Man, we got super chat early.
We do,
man. Let's get it in, man. Let's take care of our people.
All right, and here we go with our first
super chat.
All right. And we have stellar Justin Lopez. I never saw his WWF work, just the WrestleMania 1 match, but I know his WCW work from 93 to 96. Don't call me Paula, hashtag RIP. So that's what we got from stellar Justin Lopez right there, talking about the great Paul Orndorff, Hall of Famer who has recently passed away as of today. Don't call me Paula, though, Book. Rest in peace to Orndorff again.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Hey, man, it's the way life is, man. We here today. Shatters and dust. Maximus, shatters and dust. One of my favorite movies. I just watched The Gladiator just yesterday, so I had to get that in there. Shadows and dust. That's all. That's all we are. Shadows and dust. I would speak on something else, guys. You get a chance to see Hall of Fame Monday and Wednesday, but now on Thursday, I'm going to be bringing you guys a new show. It's called The Indies with Booker T. Well, I'm going to get a chance to speak with the carpenters of the indie world, the guys that work so hard, the stars before they become superstars. It's going to be starting on Thursday at 6 p.m. Same place, same time, pretty much right here on the channel. So, guys, get ready to get familiarized with the world of the indies and the stories of the indie world. As far as and for me, I need I need experts. Talk about that. And me personally, I don't call myself an expert of the indie world. I need experts to actually be able to talk about that with me. And right now, we got so many young guys, young female out there trying to come up, trying to make their way in this business. And the thing is, people always want to talk to me. All right. People always want to talk to the guys that have become stars already. Nobody want to give the indie stars a rub. And that's what I'm here for, to give the indie stars a rub. Talk about your story and where, why, and how it all started for you. So guys, come on inside with me and check out the indies starting on Thursday, 6 p.m. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. I think you're going to like it.
Absolutely. We're excited for the Indies debuting right here on this channel book. And I guess we can't reveal we want to save that as a surprise, right? Who's going to be on the show?
Well, I think our first guest, let's go ahead and put it out there. Trish Adore is going to be our first guest. And she has a story to tell, African queen that's been doing it all over the indie circuit for quite some time and looking to just get more and more experience. Because when you get there, you got to be ready first and foremost. Experience is your only luck you're going to have in this business. So Trish Adore, get ready. You're about to be introduced to the world. The Indies with Booker T starting Thursday, 6 p.m. Like I say, don't miss out. Don't get shut out. We got to take a quick break, guys. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
This is Booker T World Gym Arena in Texas City, the home to the Reality of Wrestling Training Center. It's a 20,000 square foot facility with more than 50 full-time students and wrestlers from around the world. Inside the World Gym Arena sits a 9,000 square foot venue set up for weekly shows.
From up top, 1-2 moonsault!
Where our students showcase their skills in front of a live audience.
What he's done here is awesome. He's created opportunity, and he's creating great talent, as you guys well know.
In the back, a full weight room.
6, up!
Complete with state-of-the-art equipment and personal trainers.
There you go. Two more.
A full staff and office personnel.
One more.
Running the day-to-day operation. We have interview sets for TV production, promo classes, quarterly combines. We evaluate progression and team building. Referees, commentators, ring announcers, and live television production. At the World Gym Arena, we don't just teach you how to become a professional wrestler, but an elite sports entertainer. This is Reality of Wrestling.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Hey, man, like I said, we are coming off of a hell of a weekend, and we got a lot of wrestling coming up for us this weekend with Money in the Bank on Sunday night. And I questioned myself, what do I want to start first? Do I want to start with UFC 264 and what went down in Las Vegas, Sin City? Or do I want to start with, some professional wrestling? I say we start with Conor McGregor. Let's start with UFC 264. We got to talk about that. The main event was there again, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. The co-main was Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and the co-main was Tai Tuivasa versus Greg the Hitman Hardy. Let's start with the Hitman Hardy. Greg Hardy's a guy that literally came into the UFC with, I don't know if you guys ever seen one of those like packs on somebody's back, you know what I mean? It got like a big stream of fire come out of it. Yeah, it is called the Rocket. Greg Hardy came out with the rocket strapped to his back.
Absolutely.
In the UFC. Big push, like no other that I think I've ever seen from a guy who came from another sport. Herschel Walker, he got a rub coming from football, but Greg Hardy seemed to be serious as far as taking this thing to the next level. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say about Greg Hardy's career, and as far as his gaining steam, as far as his growth in the sport, as well as myself. Actually, you remember I said,
yeah,
look, man, I'm going to give Greg Hardy the benefit of the doubt. I know he came out doing the whatever dance that was. What's the name of that dance? What is that?
I don't even remember it. He looked so stupid, though. That's all I remember.
Like real stupid. But he was showing up. He didn't mind getting in there and fighting. Any man walk inside the octagon and throw hands with another man, he has my respect. Tied to Ivasa versus Greg Hardy. Let's talk about that for a second. Greg Hardy is not working by the hour. Greg Hardy comes in and say, man, let me try to get this guy out of here and get him out of here quick so I can do my dance. It was on that track with Tuivasa. Caught Tuivasa with a big shot. Even moved Tuivasa back, and Tuivasa caught him coming in with a short left hook. Bang! Lights went out in Vegas, and there it was. Big win for Tai Tuivasa. Greg Hardy's second loss in a row. Heavyweights, it's not a whole lot of guys in the heavyweight division. So we need guys like Greg Hardy. What do you think Greg Hardy goes from this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they actually kind of gave him this fight. Although Ivasa is what he is, I think he's got knockout power. We know that, but I felt that they kind of gave this one to him as a little bit of a layup. Like,
no, I really can't feel that way. Tai Tuivasa is another guy that had to rocket on him as well. Tai Tuivasa came in knocking guys out, even put himself in better shape than he was before, coming in a little bit heavier, now coming in looking like he's trying to take this thing serious. I think Tuivasa and Hardy pretty much, Tuivasa have taken a few losses. Hardy's taken a few losses. Both of these guys are pretty much pretty much at the same spot, looking for the same bone, and that's trying to move up to the next level, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Hardy's coming off that last loss, but before that, he got the DQ, and I think those are the only 2 L's that he has on his record. Isn't that true in the UFC?
I think Hardy's got like 2 or 3 losses on his record.
I know he's got the DQ loss. I'll pull it up here, but I mean, to me, from what I've seen from the UFC, when you talk about Greg Hardy, this is a guy who they really had a lot. Also, this is a guy who, let's be honest, for his first few fights, he was kind of was he impressive as a mixed martial artist?
Okay, wait a minute. I got it right here. Okay. Greg Hardy, his first loss was to Alan Crowbar. Okay, I don't know who that is. His next loss was to Ben Soley. I'm not sure who that is. Next loss was to Alexander Volkov. Next loss was to Marcin Tibera, which was his last loss, and now this one. So Greg Hardy's, he's had a few losses. His record is what?
7-4.
7-4. So he's got 4 losses on his record, and
I forgot about the Volkov fight.
He's one of those guys it's a learning curve for Greg Hardy trying to figure this thing out. So I can't put him ahead of Tai Tuivasa or anything like that. Were these guys on an even playing field? I think so. And it showed in the fight because Greg Hardy, for a second there, the fight was, swinging in his favor, and then boom, all of a sudden it wasn't. So
for like a literal second almost. I mean, the fight was, I said for like a literal second. The fight was, I think, only like 50 seconds or a minute, something like that. But I think that Greg Hardy, obviously, he doesn't have the natural tools of a mixed martial artist. He's just a big dude from football who can throw some hands, and if he connects with one of them, he might put you to sleep like he did a few of the guys that he had early in his UFC career. I just don't think that there's a lot for him as far as top tier talent. I mean, look, you saw when every time he tries to step up with somebody, especially if you go to that Volkov fight, which I knew was just a crazy thing, and then there was that rumor for a minute he was going to fight Francis Ngannou. Anybody in that B-, C+ tier, he's going to have problems with. So I think that Greg Hardy as a UFC fighter, I think that we got some entertaining moments out of him. I don't see it going much further than this. When you're nearly a 500 record in a sport like this, especially in the UFC, you're not going to last much longer.
You know, man.
7-4 is almost 500.
I beg to differ, man.
You beg to differ? How?
Yeah, the reason why I say that is, look at a guy like Gamebred Masvidal. Okay, look how many losses this guy has on his record. Okay,
sure.
He has almost more losses than he do wins. Okay, literally, and he's still a top, UFC fighter. I feel like Greg Hardy losing is, I've heard in fighting, you don't learn anything in fighting from your wins. You don't learn anything in fighting from having an undefeated record. You don't learn anything when you're a fighter until you lose. That's what I've learned about fighting in the fight game, over the years. Even Dustin Poirier talks about, the gains he made from losing opposed to being an undefeated fighter. Charles Oliveira, a guy who went out.
But you're naming guys who can be the world champion.
No, but
Greg Hardy can be the world champion.
Guys that have gone out and lost. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And guys like Oliveira, who's gone out and gotten knocked out, still learn from that knockout. And what I'm saying is, in the heavyweight division, it's not a whole lot of guys in the heavyweight division. You're going to need guys like, you need guys to fight. And one of those guys that don't mind fighting is Greg Hardy. I mean, you look at a lot of guys at the lower weight classes, they're never going to be champion. They're never going to be UFC champion, but they don't mind throwing them in there in a fight on a moment's notice.
Okay, so you're saying keep him around just as a utility, as a guy that we can throw to somebody. I mean, like if we need somebody just to have a fight, we just throw Greg Hardy.
But not just that, but you need somebody that can fight, that I can promote at the same time. Greg Hardy is still a guy that I can promote because he is one knockout away from winning. Just say, for instance, you put him in a fight with Francis Ngannou, and he do land that lucky punch. There's been a lot of guys that have landed that lucky punch inside the octagon.
Sure. I mean, it's a sport where anything can happen, but there's also likelihoods. That's why you're able to bet on it. And would I take a bet that Francis Ngannou would get knocked out by Greg Hardy? Absolutely not. And I don't think that we're ever going to get anywhere close to that with a guy like Greg Hardy. I just don't think he's look. I could be wrong, to quote a famous man, but I just don't think that he has the talent to be a top tier fighter.
A lot of people said that about the Black Beast. A lot of people thought, he couldn't get his cardio together. A lot of people thought he was just a guy that was out there fighting, but now he's in position.
Okay, because why? Now he's strung wins together. So if Greg Hardy starts stringing some wins together, I can change my mind.
The thing is,
but as of right now, I don't see it.
To become the UFC champion. I'm not saying Greg Hardy's going to be UFC champion next year, but as far as throwing this guy, to the curb after 11 fights, and say, nah, you have nothing after winning 7 of those fights.
I'm not saying throw him to the curb. I just don't see him being any bigger than he is now. I mean, we've seen the peak, in my opinion, of Greg Hardy. Like we've seen the best that he's going to do. Okay,
let's just say this: he beats, he wins that fight against Tai Tuivasa.
Okay,
what would you be saying then?
Hey, you got a good win.
That would be it.
I mean, what more would I say? If he knocks him out?
Wait a minute. Would you also be saying, well, I don't see this guy ever moving up to the next level?
No, because you come off a win.
Exactly my point.
But when you come off loss after loss.
I mean, J. Rock Williams in boxing, he went out and got knocked out the fight before he became the world middleweight champion. So I can't, I can't
Anything
look
can
at,
happen.
That's what I'm saying. I can't look at fighters. I can't look at fighters and say they're not going to become a better fighter just because of their last fight. I just can't. I just can't look at fighters like that.
Okay.
Just because I've been watching the fight game for so long. We got to take a quick break. Stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a momento. Continental champion. He is Rolling Stone's Superstar of the Year. He is the man who perhaps had the best 2017 of any WWE superstar in my estimation. Let's bring him in right now. He is the one and only The Miz. What's going on, Miz?
Wow, Booker, thank you very much. That's a huge compliment coming from you.
No, Miz.
You're a legend. You're a Hall of Famer, and you're telling me that I was one of the best last year?
No. You've been one of the best over the last 10 years, Miz. I give you props. Anywhere I go, going back to the CM Punk moment when he did the pipe bomb, you know what I mean? And you have been dropping a lot of pipe bombs.
I've been dropping them left and right, just trying to make an impact. Trying to gain some respect in this industry, you know? And, it's funny. When my wife first came into WWE, came back, it was like the day after WrestleMania, and she actually helped me win the Intercontinental Championship from Zack Ryder. And at that moment, I was like, never again am I going to be looked at as anything but a main eventer.
Shoop! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Talking UFC 264. Went down Greg Hardy, Tai Tuivasa, 1 minute in a couple of seconds, first round, KO Tai Tuivasa with the big win. Moving on to the co-main event, Gilbert Burns stepping back inside after that loss to, what's that boy name?
Usman?
Usman. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Usman. Yeah. Stepping in there with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And what a sleeper. What a sleeper.
Yeah.
I actually watched the All Access as far as Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson, talking about the loss to Usman, whatnot, and getting back on the horse and getting back in there and getting on a winning streak. And I watched the drills as far as the training sessions with Gilbert Burns, and I must say they did exactly what they drilled. They did exactly what they thought. You got to get in close. You got to grab this guy. You got to get him to the ground, and you got to stay there. Let's grab you a pillow on the way down. It was one of those type of deals, and it was a sleeper. Wonder Boy never got a chance to get off. He never got a chance to use any of his striking ability, any of his length, or anything like that. Any of his dynamic, kicking ability or anything like that. It was just a ground fight, and the winner was Gilbert Burns. Yeah, he got a win. But as far as stock going up for Gilbert Burns, talk to me about that. You see anything in that?
I mean, a win is a win, sure. I didn't see anything here that would indicate an improvement to a certain level to where he could take on Usman again, and the result would be any different. We got to go in against Wonder Boy, who's been a really weird holding pattern, right? Wonder Boy's, since those two Tyron Woodley fights, he's just kind of been in this weird, he's in the middle of the pack. He's not your best guy in the division. He's not your worst guy in the division. He can go out there and give you a credible win. He can take a loss, and he just kind of stays in the same spot kind of all the time for me, just right there in the middle. Gilbert Burns, well, this is a guy who, like you said earlier, had a rocket to him. I mean, people were talking about Gilbert Burns after he beat Tyron Woodley. Oh, this could be the next challenger. Originally, it was going to be him and Usman before he had to step out due to COVID. Then we finally got that Usman fight, and it wasn't a good night for Gilbert Burns. So a win is always good. I like to see who they match him up with next, maybe give him something that he can really get into the weeds with, because I still feel like we've seen Gilbert Burns go out there and just not really kick it into another gear that I think that he might have.
I don't think honestly, I don't think he has another gear.
You think this is the best that he is?
We've seen the best of Gilbert Burns, just because, we go back to that knockout that he had over Damian Maia. And it was a spectacular knockout over Damian Maia, but it was Damian Maia. A lot of people gave him a lot of praise and thought he was a really good striker because of that. But when you look at Gilbert Burns, you got to realize this guy got some really, really short arms.
He is.
Against Usman, his arms were like so short, and he can't get into a striking contest with guys like that having those short arms, even though he's got a pack a pretty good punch for a guy who has short arms, but he's not going to be able to compete from that level. That's why in this fight against Wonder Boy, he didn't even try to fight from a stand-up perspective or try to use a striking style against Stephen Thompson, just because that was a losing, battle. That was a bad formula thinking about going out there and doing that. And then that just goes to show me that Gilbert Burns going forward with guys that can strike, he has only one option, and that is to grapple. And then say, for instance, grappling with a guy like Usman, that could be a bad choice as well.
Sure. I mean, Usman's one of the best on the ground, and he's come into being one of the best in the division with his hands, coming off that Masvidal fight and the Gilbert Burns fight. We saw another side of him. I don't know. I just feel like Gilbert Burns, maybe you're right. Maybe he's shown us everything. To me, somebody who has obviously a lot of talent, especially on the ground, you would think that he could have another gear to be on that world title level, but perhaps this is the best that we've seen from him. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a sleeper. It wasn't the match that I thought it was going to be between these two. But really, in all honesty, people were watching this show for one fight. They weren't watching for this one.
Well, I mean, people was watching for
people weren't watching.
No, you're exactly right. I don't think people were thinking a whole lot about Gilbert Burns, but I mean, he has his fans, and I'm sure people want to see him get back on a horse.
Absolutely.
People want to see Gilbert Burns go out and be destructive like he had, been before, like we had seen him do it in past. But there again, we didn't see that. But the main event,
got to talk about
Conor McGregor taking on that boy from Louisiana. That's the way we say it. When you're from Louisiana, you say Louisiana. You don't say Louisiana. That's what you say. And that's my neck of the woods. I tell you, man, a lot of people, all of the experts, that's what I didn't understand. All of the experts was picking Conor McGregor to win in 3. And I'm just trying to figure out, what do these guys get their information from, or what do they get their thinking patterns to be able to, come up with something like that? Now, Conor McGregor, I give Conor McGregor a lot of props, but we're not talking about Conor McGregor from 5 years ago. Okay, we're talking about the Conor McGregor who haven't won a UFC fight other than Cowboy Cerrone in the last, few years. 5 years. Other than Cowboy, and now I'm not going to sit here and begrudge Cowboy Cerrone or anything like that. But Cowboy Cerrone is, well past his better days. Okay, let's say that. And I'm not going to say, you should put him out to pasture or anything like that, because I'm just not going to talk about a fighter like that. But Cowboy Cerrone is, he's not the best guy in the division. All right, he's not in the top 10 in the division as for if I'm ranking the fighters in that division. Okay, and if that's the only win that he's gotten, why are we really still talking about Conor McGregor being the greatest MMA fighter in the history of the game? Okay, give him that mantle, being the greatest MMA fighter that ever walked inside the octagon. Give him that mantle. That's what they say. I'm not saying that.
Right.
That's what they say. I say Horace Gracie. I'm old school, and I would bet on that fight any day of the week. Horace Gracie versus Conor McGregor. And Horace Gracie would eat his lunch every time. That's just my opinion. But we're not talking about Conor McGregor, who was fighting a lot of smaller guys when he was making his rise, when he ascended to the place to where he is now. We're talking about Conor McGregor, the guy who's descended over this last 5 years by getting his ass whooped by guys like Diaz, guys like Khabib, guys like Poirier. And those are the elite fighters. Now, we would be having this conversation if Conor McGregor would have beat all 3 of those guys.
Well, he did beat 2 of the 3 of them.
Okay, he beat. I'm talking about as of late.
Okay, yeah.
Talking about when he came back, and and when he started losing. I ain't talking about when he fought Dustin Poirier when Dustin Poirier was a kid. Now,
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have bet on Conor McGregor in that fight, the first fight against Dustin Poirier.
145 again, like you said, bigger fighter.
I would have bet on Conor McGregor, as well as I still, not to throw Herb Dean under the bus or anything like that, but I still feel like in the first fight, Conor McGregor hit Dustin Poirier behind the head, and Herb Dean didn't do anything about it. Could Dustin Poirier have won that first fight? I think so. Did he get robbed? No, I don't think so. But did the referee miss the call? Did Herb Dean miss it? I do think so. So I'm just talking from a realistic perspective. Conor McGregor haven't did anything inside the octagon to get praise the way he's getting. And then he goes out and he at the end of the day has no class. Okay? That's why I put Conor McGregor at the end of the day. Not losing the fight. I look at him as being a classless bum. And I don't talk about fighters too often like that. Or at all. But I look at Conor McGregor at the end of the day as being a classless bum that has no respect for me and shouldn't get any respect from any fighter that has ever walked inside the octagon. That's just my opinion.
I mean, and I think you're referring to his post-fight comments about Dustin Poirier's family and more specifically his wife, which should always be off limits, but we know that we know that it's not.
He really,
now this is just like the wrestling side of me, because I saw what's her name, Ronda Rousey praise Conor McGregor's post-match interview actually on Twitter, saying way to essentially cut the promo for the next fight, and in some ways, I guess what I'm going to ask is, do you think that he was just trying to get his heat back? After the fight?
I think Conor McGregor was in shock, to be honest. I really think Conor McGregor was in shock. I think he was in a place that he had never imagined himself being in a million years. And it's I'm gonna tell you, man, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. You know what I mean? And that's what the situation. We gotta take a break.
Oh, damn.
We gotta take a break. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. Again, guys, don't miss my new show that's going to be coming out this Thursday, 6 p.m. The Indies with Booker T going to be taking you guys all around the world, talking to the young stars coming up, trying to become superstars of this business. And guys, it's going to be good, if I say so myself. Kick it off with Trish Adore again, Thursday, 6 p.m. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. We're talking about Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
And like I said, man, The reason why I said Conor McGregor was in shock, he was talking, about some stuff that I had never heard in my life. And like I say, now you got it. You got some Irish blood in you.
I do.
And I think we got the clip.
We do.
Of what Conor McGregor was talking, but before we hear the clip, I want to read the clip where he was asked what happened with the leg. Okay. And this is what I heard. And you guys in the chat, you guys tell me what you hear. But this is what I heard. Just the thing had separated me blinging. Me blinging landed on the wangi leg, Langundis, and this is a blatant business, man. Something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out what the hell did Conor say. And the thing is, I don't think Joe Rogan understood most of it because he ended the conversation immediately following. Let's hear it.
All right, so here it is. This is Conor McGregor's post-fight interview, courtesy of the UFC on YouTube. Let's hear it.
The fight obviously stopped in a horrible way. Give us your thoughts on how it was going.
I was boxing the bleeding head off him, kicking the bleeding leg off him. Usual side dive to close the distance. This is not over. If I had to take this outside with him, it's all outside.
I understood part of that. Okay, now we're coming up on the part where it was totally unaudible. Okay,
here it is right here.
Here we go. Not this part yet.
Your wife is in me DMs.
Okay, it's after this.
All right, talk
about his wife.
We don't need to hear that part here on this show. We know all about that. All right, but this last part here, I gotta hear it because I'm
Conor,
trying to figure out what the hell
you
is
missed
going
with
on
a
here.
punch
Right
and
here.
step back. Tell us what you felt. Tell us what you
This
thought
part,
was going
guys,
on.
I need you to
The
elaborate.
thing had separated and my bleeding landed on the wonky leg like Anderson Silva that time.
With that right, rewind that, and let me hear that one more time.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
rewind a little bit. All right,
Conor,
right here.
You missed with a punch and step back. Tell us what you felt. Tell us what you thought was going on.
Just the thing had separated and my bleeding landed on the wonky leg like Anderson Silva that time. Something similar to that.
So I mean, I think what he might be saying
No,
is...
wait a minute. Don't think if you didn't actually, I didn't hear anything other than me blading, wangy leg, landis, and blah, 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 blah. That's it. Okay, that's the talk of a crazy person. That's the talk of a person that's in shock. I don't even know why Joe Rogan was interviewing Conor McGregor at this time. It's almost like a guy getting knocked out and being unconscious and not being aware of his what he's actually saying. You get a broken leg like this, literally,
Sure.
A break in half. Okay. To where if you was a horse, they'd be putting a bullet in you and putting you to sleep. Okay. Now Conor McGregor gets a broken leg, literally broken where the world can see it. And Joe Rogan is there interviewing him like, oh, let's have a cup of tea. Like this guy can't be, no, what I'm saying is like this guy is not in the worst pain that he's ever been in his life, perhaps, and you sitting here wanting to conduct an interview with me. That is, come on.
I'm assuming
I could be wrong, but on something like this is like common sense. You go and break your leg. I had a broken ankle before, okay?
Yeah.
And just when I got the shot in my ankle for them to sew it up where I cut it at the same time, I was a young kid, but I still remember that pain and that needle going in my ankle like it was yesterday. I cried and I screamed so loud in that emergency room. My brothers, they could hear me all the way out in the lobby. So for this guy to be sitting here conducting an interview with Conor McGregor as if Conor McGregor is in his right state of mind, we wouldn't have never heard the stuff about Dustin Poirier's wife on live television if it wasn't for Joe Rogan.
Well, I see. I would be shocked if Rogan said, "You know what? I'm just going to go over there and interview Conor." I think obviously Conor McGregor asked for that. I think Conor was sitting there and he asked to be interviewed.
That's where it comes in, where one has to have the wherewithal, understanding, and know-how to say, no, this is not the right time. But if you're trying to get ratings, if you want to hear, Conor McGregor call another man's wife the expletive that he called, Dustin Poirier's wife. If that's what you're looking for, if that's what the UFC is sinking to and going down to, which is the gutter, it's hard for me to say I can support that because I really can't. I know you're not gonna. I know you're not going to interview. I've heard Joe Rogan say that he refused to interview a fighter
who's been knocked out
after he's been knocked out.
Right.
And I can't see being knocked out any more worse than having a blatant broken leg with the Wangi and the Luganda along.
Let me say this. I think he said it was on me one good leg, right? Something like Anderson Silva.
Okay, replay it one more time.
Okay, we'll play it one more time.
I didn't hear none of that. Okay, anybody out there hear any of that? You guys.
I'll break it down for you. I'll break it down for you as we hear it. I'll break it down. Okay. All right.
Conor, you missed with a punch and step back.
Missed with a punch.
Tell us what you felt. Tell us what you thought was going on.
Just the thing had separated and my blade and landed on the wonky leg like Anderson Silva.
So it just separated, and I stepped back and landed on my one leg, one good leg.
Oh, maybe the one good leg?
One good leg, like Anderson Silva, something like that.
Okay, keep rolling.
That's what I hear.
Something similar to that. It's a madhouse business.
And then something similar to that, it's an effing madhouse business. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear.
Yeah, all right, man.
That's what I hear.
Irish. You know what I mean? Maybe you can figure it out. It's like,
I don't think there's any Gaelic going on.
It's like I got twins, right? And when they was like 4 and 5, I get maybe 3 and 4, maybe. I couldn't understand what my son was saying, so my daughter would have to translate it. Maybe that's what this is.
That's what I'm hearing. But the chat can tell me if they're hearing anything different. But let's talk real quick, though, about the fight itself. Conor McGregor loses by a doctor stoppage, so it's via TKO technically. I think during the first round, it looked like.
Wait a minute, say that again.
He loses by a TKO, technical knockout due to a doctor stoppage.
Yeah.
That's how it's written.
I would just say he loses by technical knockout. I wouldn't say to a doctor stoppage.
Well, that's what the scorecard said.
That, but I would say he was going to have to stop whether the doctor stopped it or not.
Right.
Okay, so I wouldn't call this a doctor stoppage. I know Conor McGregor and the UFC want to call this a doctor stoppage.
Well, it was stopped by the doctor.
I'm just saying, I'm not buying into that term because Conor McGregor could not continue. It wasn't like he had a cut over his head and it was bleeding.
Sure.
He had a broken leg to where he couldn't walk to his own corner. The doctor didn't have to do anything about stopping that fight. Conor McGregor want to use that as a crutch. I know the world of the UFC want to use that as a crutch, but Conor McGregor got his ass whooped and he had a broken leg, and that's why the fight got stopped.
Right.
That's just like when Usman was fighting what's his name? The trash talker.
Kobe Covington?
Yeah, I don't even want to mention his name on the show. Yeah, say he broke his own jaw fighting.
Oh, right.
I broke my jaw. Okay, did you break your own jaw? You know what? Which bite down on your mouthpiece? So I don't want to hear excuses like that when it comes to fighting. Doctor stoppage, you might want to look at it that way, but I refuse to look at it that way. Now go ahead and say whatever you was gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say I didn't know that reading the result of the fight from Wikipedia was gonna get such a reaction. The fight itself, though, if I was telling you this earlier, if I scored it after one round, Conor looked good in the early goings. And then as soon as he kind of went to the ground, he put some weird guillotine on that didn't look like it had any effect on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier starts getting on him, landing these really big shots, big elbows, everything up close. They finally stand back up. That's when Conor takes a step back and his shin snapped. I think it was a tibia and a fibia break. But if I were to score the fight after one round, Dustin Poirier was clearly winning this fight. I don't think that had it continued, we would have gotten a different result. I mean, going off, what you were saying earlier about Greg Hardy, could anything happen? Sure. Conor could land a big left hand and put Dustin to sleep. That's feasible. It's possible. It didn't look like we were on that trajectory. It looked like Conor was heading towards an L no matter what, but that's just my vantage point of it. What did you think of the actual combat between the two?
Come on. Let's go back to what I said. All right. I don't know if you remember my quote as far as the fight goes. I said, I don't know if you remember it. Or if you do remember it, tell me exactly what I said about this fight in Conor McGregor.
I don't recall your exact quote.
But my exact quote was, if Conor McGregor
if he gets past
in the first round, he loses. And what did my prediction come true or not?
It did.
Exactly. It came true. We got to take a break. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. So the Young Bucks, I had heard about these guys, but I didn't know them or anything like that. And they had a WWE tryout. And these two guys, they were, hanging in the hallways. It seemed like they were, I don't know, they were kind of like off to themselves. I don't know. I don't know. It just felt funny. And I was getting ready to do I was doing commentating back then, and I had my jacket, laid over this, piece of equipment, and I walked by, and one of the Young Bucks was leaning on my jacket, and I was like, "Hey, bro, that's my jacket right there," and he goes, "Oh, okay," I got my jacket and I walked off, and I was like, I didn't realize it, but they were there for a tryout, and I was like, man, after I realized it, I said something on one of the podcasts or our show or something. These guys didn't even shake my hand, and then next thing you know, it was a big thing going around as far as me not shaking the Young Bucks' hand. And then they started doing a thing online where, they wouldn't shake anybody's hand, and then, they had a thing with RVD, where they wouldn't shake RVD's hand. So I was like, man, you know what I mean? These guys are taking this thing to another level. Can't wait to see them. So I wanted to fight the Young Bucks. I want to get it to them.
You would have put hands on them.
I want to put hands on them.
Put those Fifth Ward beads on them.
Yeah. And we ended up running into each other at an independent show. And I'm still a little bit hot, And, so we end up talking and whatnot, and we end up getting back around to what happened up in WWE as far as my jacket goes, and they go, bro, reason we didn't say anything to you, man, you're intimidating.
Sucker!
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Yeah, man. Talking UFC 264, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 3.
Yes.
And of course we didn't get the ending we were looking for. We didn't.
That's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to ask you, if you were Dustin Poirier right now, and you have the W in the column, right? But obviously it's not the most satisfying. It's not after like your last win where you knocked the guy out, blatantly with your hands and you win the fight. How do you feel? How do you feel about this, waking up now Sunday and Monday morning? Do you feel like that you can close this chapter? Do you feel like, I don't know, what do you think he's thinking right now?
He's thinking about
he's thinking the money. Sure, I'm thinking about the fight.
If I could get in Dustin's head for a second, I would think he's thinking about his family first and foremost. And when you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about them dollars, man. You think about making that money. And the thing with Dustin, was it definitive or anything like that? Or do I need closure with Conor McGregor? It wasn't definitive, and I really don't need closure, but I could use that check that I'm going to get by fighting Conor McGregor again. So I think Conor McGregor has done a lot of good for Dustin Poirier's, pocketbook. And Dustin, like Dustin said, he was offered a championship fight over fighting Conor McGregor, and he chose to fight Conor McGregor. That's smart. If you're thinking about your family at the end of the day,
Right.
a lot of guys would rather have the belt before they got a check, just so they could, say that, show it
I
to
was
their
a world
buddy,
champion.
take a few Polaroids with it.
I mean,
I know we don't have Polaroids anymore. No,
you still got a little binder that says Booker T's
Polaroids
tax
are back.
returns.
They got them back there. They created the Polaroid all over again. So yeah, definitely.
Well, but what I guess for me as a fight fan, right, I do feel a little bit like there's something left on the plate, right? I didn't get the result that I wanted. Not the result, but I didn't get the finish to this trilogy, right? Normally, if you watch a trilogy in film, that last movie, it gives you, as you put, closure. Okay, we saw these characters go on this journey for 3 movies. It's over. The credits roll. I feel good about it. In this one, I don't feel that great about it because, as we know in the fight game, anything could have happened in the second, third, fourth, fifth round if it went that far, if Conor didn't snap the leg or what have you. And me as a fight fan, do I want to see it again? No. I don't want to see this fight again. I don't think there should be a 4. I don't really think that Conor McGregor should ever fight again, in my opinion. But do I think that this was a closure-filled night for everybody? No. It was kind of a big letdown for me, just as a fight fan.
Hey, man, this could be Conor McGregor's last fight. Or he could come back and,
I think it should be. Well, I mean, why fight again? Because here's the thing. You either do one of two things. You come back and you win. Okay, that's nice. Sure. But it's not like the payday is going to be that extravagant. You can also risk hurting yourself again. And then if you lose, your legacy goes further down the tubes, right? He was good for a minute and then he wasn't. This man just sold his vodka or his, what is it? It's not a vodka. What is it?
Upper 12.
Proper Irish whiskey. He just sold it for somewhere between $400 and $600 million 2 weeks ago. What are you doing? Do you know what I mean? I guess part of me should respect the fact that even though he has all the money in the bank, he still wants to go out there and prove himself. I guess that's, you could make that argument. But for me, I just look at it like pure idiocy. Like, if I have that money in the bank, I don't care. I don't care what anybody has to say.
Well, me personally, I've said it many times. I say, hey, if they would have just paid me $1 million a year and told me to stay at home, I would have been happy. No title, no Hall of Fame, none of that. Which one would I have chosen?
The money.
I was taking that check. But some fighters are different. Fighters are totally different than you and I.
Sure.
And most people walking on this planet, they really are. And to be the baddest man on the planet, that's an addiction that you and I would never understand. Walking into a room and everybody's eyes turn and look at you, and you do the most barbaric job, out there, and people look at you and go, "Wow, I wish I was that guy." So it's a rush, and for Conor McGregor, he's still relatively a young guy, and to not have that for the rest of his life and have to just live on what he was, and then going out of the business like a clown, it's going to be hard for him, bro. It's going to be real hard for him walking in a room, because people are not going to, you lose respect also when you're not the champion.
Absolutely.
When you walk in the room, people look at you totally different. People are going to look at him totally different when you walk in the room now. It's just like when Tiger Woods, before the scandal and after.
Right. I think that if I was Conor McGregor, though, I mean, I honestly, I would have called it a wrap after Cowboy. I really would have. I would have been like, look, I just went out there, I beat this guy in under a minute. He has the most wins in UFC history. Blah, blah, blah. I ride off into the sunset. There you go. I never need to be the champion again. I'm fine. But for him to go out in that regard, it would kind of, I don't know. I guess for him, it would leave something to be desired to go off on because in his mind, he's thinking, oh, I was going to win that fight. Right? No fighter thinks he was going to lose the fight. He's obviously thinking I was going to win that fight. Right? So,
Well, he built himself up to go out and win that fight. He did everything he possibly could to hype himself up.
Sure.
Even though the walk all the way around Vince McMahon walk all the way around the cage. He really tried his best to psych himself up to feel like this is the old Conor McGregor going in to fight Jose Aldo, and I'm gonna hit him with one punch, and it's gonna be over. I'm gonna hit him with one spin kick, and it's gonna be glory days. They're gonna throw a parade when I go back to Ireland. It's one of those type of deals.
Well, I guess, in his mind, obviously he thought he was going to win the fight if his leg didn't break the way that it did. But for him, I would just say, look, man, let's just wrap it up. Let's go do something else. We have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. Yep. It's time to go. But you mentioned the Vince McMahon thing. This is the last thing I do want to say. I think that Conor, he's an admitted pro wrestling fan, grew up on pro wrestling. That's why I asked you earlier. I think that his post-fight promo, his pro wrestling instincts kicked in and was like, "Hey, let me get my heat back." Right? That's why I guarantee he called Joe Rogan over and said, "I'm going to get my heat back right now." That's what he did. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
We got a super chat, man. I'm done talking about Conor McGregor. He's done. He's finished. We got a super chat.
Let's take it real quick.
Super chat.
All right, this is from Network Guy Dave. What's going on, guys? Booker, who do you think is going to win this fight coming up between Errol Spence Jr. and Manny Pacquiao? That's going on August, sometime in August, the 17th, something like that. But it's going down in August. What do you think about this fight, Book?
I'm going to tell you right now, if we were talking about this 2 years ago, I say Errol Spence is going to wipe Manny Pacquiao out. Things going to be over with quick. But I'm scared. I'm a Manny Pacquiao fan, but I'm an Errol Spence fan too. I want to see Errol go out and do it. And but I'm a Manny Pacquiao fan because he's fighting for the old guys. He's letting letting the world see, man. Just because you 40, don't think that it's all over. You still got it. And then to watch that young man, that old man beat up that young man, Keith Thurman, live and in living color in Vegas. I'm afraid for what could happen in this fight. Now, the one thing I feel like it is going to happen in this fight, it's going to be action packed. I'm going to go with Errol Spence Jr. And I'm going to go with him by stoppage.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why I feel he's going to stop Manny Pacquiao is something different that all the other fighters that have fought Manny Pacquiao was not, is he's a southpaw just like Manny Pacquiao. So it's going to be a straight up fight. He's not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to catch Errol Spence with those shots that he can't see. That left hand, that straight left hand, it's not going to be there for him like it normally would be against other fighters. So I feel like that right there, the youth and Errol Spence just being a dog and don't mind getting into a dog fight, I think Errol Spence is going to win that fight by stoppage. That's my prediction.
That's big. That's a bold prediction, Book. That's a bold prediction. We'll see by stoppage. So you see him knocking him out?
He may not knock him out, but I think he's going to beat Manny Pacquiao up enough to what a referee is going to have to do his job. He's going to have the wherewithal and understanding and know how to just step in and stop it. That's the way I see this fight going. I could be wrong, of course, but that's the way I see this fight happening.
You very well could be wrong, or you could be right on the money. We will see. That's going down in August. Hopefully we will be there to see that fight live and in living color. We will find out here shortly and momentarily. But, Book, we've been talking about combat sports. The world of wrestling has been on fire as well. I think we got to talk about all things leading up to this Sunday's Money in the Bank here on the show.
As well as a whole lot more. Stick around, guys. We'll be back in a minute.
It's historically the biggest night in reality of wrestling's calendar year. It's the Summer of Champions. A night where new champions are crowned, familiar faces are seen, and iconic moments occur. Some of the biggest battles, some of the most heated rivalries, all come to a head at the Summer of Champions. This year's main event will feature the Texas champion Will All Day taking on the Reality of Wrestling champion Cameron Cole in a title unification bout. All goes down live August the 14th on the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel and live in Texas City. It is the Summer of Champions 7.
Sucker!
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. Hey, I want to thank all of our YouTube subscribers. Guys, we are less than 4,000 away from 500,000 subscribers. I want to thank you guys, man. It's been awesome to see the channel grow the way it has over this last year. During the pandemic, we got the most traffic. And I just want to thank you guys for keeping Reality of Wrestling afloat, keeping, generating revenue throughout that year, because I tell you, it was tough. And I'm saying this in all sincerity, if it wasn't for you guys, Reality of Wrestling would not be here. So I just want to thank you guys for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Get us over 500K. We hope to be at 1 million subscribers by the end of this year. And it's going to be fueled with this new show that's going to be kicking off on Thursday called The Indies with Booker T, where I'm going to be talking to all the indie wrestlers around the world, getting their stories about how, where, and when it all happened. Make sure you check it out, guys. 6 p.m. Central Time on Thursday. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. But yeah, we got a whole lot of wrestling talk. Money in the Bank going down Sunday night. Of course, we got a lot of time. We're gonna talk about Money in the Bank. But before we talk about Money in the Bank, Aleister Black made his debut in AEW as Malachi Black. Got up out of there on a 30-day non-compete, found a loophole in the system, and got up out of there and got kicked off in AEW. Also, Chelsea Mean Green made her debut in ROH. So, big ups for the young guys moving on. I mean, and I always said a lot of times, people hear about people getting let go in WWE, but it is so much life after, a WWE career. It's not even funny, but people just get caught up on the clickbait, who we can talk about, who's getting fired. Man, if I get fired from one job, I'm going to another one. It's like when I left WCW. If I wouldn't have went to WWE, I would have went to New Japan. If I wouldn't have went to New Japan, I would have went to Germany or somewhere. If I wouldn't have went, I would have been working and making money in this business if I wouldn't have never gone to WWE. And that's what people need to understand. It is plentiful out there in the world of professional wrestling right now, and you can make a career on the independent scene alone if you're good enough. And I'm not jiving. I say that because look at guys like Bryan Danielson, now known as Daniel Bryan. I look at guys like Samoa Joe. I look at guys like CM Punk. Those guys were working on the indie scene, and they were paying their bills once upon a time. So and that's why I say I can't speak as an expert on the independent scene because I didn't really work the indies a whole lot. I didn't, I did a few independent shows, but I got discovered, 6 months in the business.
a rarity.
You know what I mean? I've been main event since day one. I'm just playing. But no, man. Definitely. I just want to say, it's good to see those guys moving on.
It is. And Malachi Black, Aleister Black, Malachi Black in AEW, debuting in a really cool way with the, lights going off early in the show. Someone was like, with AEW, sometimes their effects don't work the right way. You know what I mean? So when the lights went out, people were thinking, oh, that must have been like a glitch. That shouldn't have happened. This is their first road show back or what have you. And then later on in the night, lights go off again. Malachi Black's in the ring, attacks Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes. And it looks like it's going to be him and Cody first out of the gate, which I think is a good, partner to have in, a new promotion. Is Cody Rhodes one of the top guys there? Where do you think Malachi, though, goes in AEW? Because if I remember right, you were saying that he didn't really ever click for you in WWE. Do you think AEW is a ground where he can really pop off?
Perhaps, man. And the thing is, when I just talk about the business and guys not clicking, like in WWE, for me, I never looked at Aleister in WWE. I never really looked at him as, let's just say, it's hard to find the word. I really never looked at him as, just like I say, maybe a regular human being. It seemed like he was like this Tone Po like fighter, and that's the only thing that he did was fight. I never got a chance to see any character outside of Aleister Black other than the Black Mask. That's the only thing that people talked about with Aleister Black, and the way he entered, from the coffin like deal and then walked to the ring. But everything was dark with Aleister Black, so I never really understood it was almost just like, say, for instance, when Glacier came out. Glacier was a karate guy. That's what he went to the ring and do. But I couldn't look at Glacier as a real human being. He was like a cartoon character.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And that's what I kind of like looked at Aleister Black as. Today's wrestler that get over, is somebody like John Moxley that go out and just talk crap. He looked like a guy that could be sitting next to you in the bar, but you don't want to piss him off. It's one of those type of deals. It's not anything, it's not like rocket science or anything like that. If Aleister Black, now Malachi Black can give me, some real human being character, I could buy into it. Yes. And that's why I said going to Japan, he would get over like that in a heartbeat, because those guys over there, they don't care about anything but wrestling. They don't care if you got any personality, so to speak. Okay, I'm not saying that he don't have personality, so I don't want anybody to write that and say Booker T says Aleister Black has no personality. So let me put that claim out there right now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about working in Japan and working in America. It's two different styles, and they look at it totally two different ways. At least they used to. It's a totally different way now, actually, than it was back in the day as well. But the wrestling still trumps everything in Japan, opposed to over here.
And I see what you're saying about his WWE run. I think that makes sense what you're saying. You didn't see him as a human being. He was more of this, mythological creature in some regard. But in AEW, as Malachi, he didn't come out. He came out in the suit, all black suit, went out there, black masked a couple of people. I think it was a really cool way to come in. They set his character off in the right direction. Do you think that if he stays kind of as, if he doesn't, I guess, go back to the raising up in the coffin, for lack of a better term, do you think that this is a better fit for him?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in the long run. But I thought the same thing about Aleister Black in WWE. I thought this guy was a wrestler, extraordinaire. That's secondary. Ask him to do anything in the ring, he's going to be able to do it.
Sure.
But the character building, like for myself, when I came into WWE, I had a lot of good guys working with me on character building, and they transformed me not to be just a wrestler, but to be a entertainer, a performer, to be able to make someone laugh, but still be able to go out in the ring and do that part as well. So it's always a balancing act, trying to pull that off. So I think. Could he do it? Yes, I think he could, given the opportunity. But you got to get the opportunity first.
Sure. We have another.
What we got?
Super chat. Stellar Justin Lopez with another $5 says Buddy Murphy said in an interview that WWE called him the day after he was cut and thought he was the guy they accidentally gave 30 days to. Yeah, what he's referring to is Alistair had his NXT 30-day non-compete clause. When they go to the main roster, I think they're supposed to get 90 days. So he got lucky on that one. He got lucky and he was able to appear in AEW quicker than most would have the opportunity to.
Buddy Murphy, he should have, took that check.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, you're right.
2 more months of pay? Sounds good.
I'm going to be sitting at home anyway. Y'all might as well pay me. Yeah. He missed out on that deal right there, dog. You got to be quick. You got to be real quick when the phone ring, dog. But nah, man. I'm glad these guys, like I say, life after WWE, and guys need to understand that, and people need to quit writing it like it's a death sentence as well. Okay, it is what it is. I got to let go, but if I get let go from McDonald's, are you going to be writing about it in the internet? It's crazy, crazy world, man. It's crazy, blatant, crazy business. We're in. What was that term? Wongi. It's a great blatant wongi.
It's a wongi like Anderson Dilma.
Hey man, we gotta take a break here in a second, but we gotta talk about Bayley's torn ACL, not in the ring, you know what I mean? Not practicing, in the ring. But I don't know, working out. It's a sad case. Stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
Because of Andre the Giant.
Right.
How was it to work with Andre?
Oh, he was great. I mean, the guy was, the classic gentle giant. I mean, he really was that. I mean, he was the sweetest man, and he was so smart. I mean, really smart guy. He told us stories about when in this town that he was from in France, that he used to go to school, Samuel Beckett would walk him to school. I mean, so these are the kind of influences he had. But he was an amazing guy. And one story, he also could drink pretty good. He was,
Yes.
He liked to drink once in a while. And one day he comes to work, and I said, Andre, what'd you do last night? He says, I went to the bar, had a couple of drinks. I said, well, what do you drink? He says, I had about 6 bottles of wine, 3 bottles of cognac. I said, Jesus. I said, you must have been drunk. He said, no, I don't get drunk. A little tipsy, but not drunk. So he was a great guy, though. Really sweet guy.
Sucker!
Shup! Getting a t-shirt out there real soon, guys. Be looking for it.
We need it.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. Again, guys, thank you guys for stepping inside the Hall of Fame with us. As you always do, you guys are loyal. We appreciate it. We're going to be trying to give you guys a whole lot more in 2021. We're a small little organization, Brad and I. We got here, but we work real hard for the people.
That's true. It's true.
And then Bayley, ACL tear, 9 months after having that surgery, rehab, and Bayley's been in rare form as of late, doing her best work, and now to have to sit on the shelf for 9 months. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's rough because you said she's been doing her best work, and I agree. I think that she, especially over there on that SmackDown brand, especially when they were in the Performance Center, but even since then, really carried the bulk of the labor throughout the pandemic era. I think that she was one of the big highlights throughout the entirety of 2020 going into 2021. And here we are this Friday, going to be the first show back, aside from WrestleMania, in front of fans. And Bayley, I'm sure, was going to be a big part of that. She was going into next Sunday to face Bianca Belair for the Money in the Bank for the women's title in an I Quit match. And this would have been her first show in front of fans because remember, she didn't wrestle on the WrestleMania card. She just had a couple of skits in front of the crowd, but she didn't get to wrestle. So now, not only have we been out for the last 15, 16 months of not wrestling in front of people, she's got to wait another 9 months. That's going to be 2 years of her career.
Yeah.
She doesn't get to wrestle in front of fans on, which is just terrible. I hate that this happened. Apparently, she tore it in preparation for going back on the road. She was doing training, getting ready to go back on the road, and then one of those things happened. I mean, that's really, this is the one that kept, Jimmy Uso out for a year plus, right? Ember Moon had the ACL, and she was out almost a year. So I wish Bayley the best. Terrible timing. There's never a good time to get injured, but this is especially not good. And I really hate that. I really hate that. Now Bianca Belair not going to wrestle Money in the Bank as it's currently scheduled, but she's going to face Carmella here in Houston on Friday. So we'll see where they go from there. But I really thought we were going to see Bayley versus Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. That was going to be my prediction. But I think that's obviously off the table now.
Hey, man, just the way it's not a matter of if. When you're in this business, it's a matter of when. You're going to always, get those times where you just got bad luck. They always say, like when you get on the front of a video game, or you get the post. Something's gonna happen. So you walking on pins and needles, So it's just you can't predict something like that. And like I say, Bayley was doing her best work. It could have been something, like so simple that she heard it. I'm not sure how she heard it, but it could be something so simple. I remember, watching RVD do that little, guy go for a backdrop, and he would do a little backflip over him and land on his feet, give him a drop kick or whatever. So, I watched Rob Van Dam do that move, I don't know, 1,000 times. And he did it one night on Monday Night Raw, boom, and broke his ankle. And it's like, wait a minute, you didn't do anything. But that's the way the business is, man. It's going to happen when least expected. You're going to get hurt. Something very, very simple. Me pulling my groin, totally throwing it all the way out. Matt Hardy giving me a hip toss. Something very, very simple. Something I've taken 1,000+ times. And I take a hip toss and pull my groin. Wow. You know what I mean?
Was it you who pointed and tore something? Did that happen?
Yeah, I pointed, you know what I mean? I just pointed, doing a promo in Canada, tore my tricep, so right off the bone.
Crazy.
I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
Crazy.
Oh, you know what I mean? you gotta, it's like elastic, man. It's like elastic, man. You keep stretching it. Sooner or later, like Conor McGregor, it's gonna break.
Something's gonna happen.
Something gonna pop
on your one good leg.
And then one good leg. That's what it was, one good leg. He was speaking in Ireland, so that's why I need you to translate that. What in the bank coming up this weekend, guys?
Yeah, and we're officially, after tonight, this is the last Thunderdome show.
Yeah,
Tonight's
man.
it.
That's
what? Crazy.
You know what? Not really. That's a good thing. It's a great thing.
It's a great thing.
Let's say, man, we done, man. We open for business. It's time to get back on the road. I got to go to the pay-per-view Sunday in Fort Worth, and I don't have to be there until Sunday. I don't have to go in early. I don't have to go in and take the test. You know what I mean? I got the Moderna. I didn't get that Pfizer, man. I'm glad because the Pfizer having problems right now, man.
I got the Pfizer. What's the Pfizer problem?
I'm saying, man, the Pfizer's, they came out and said that the CDC, now Pfizer came out and said, look, man, whoever got the Pfizer, y'all need to get a third dose. Y'all
the booster.
Yeah. Otherwise, y'all ain't got but 6 months time on your vaccine. 6 months and y'all up.
That's what they say.
But I'm just saying. And then CDC came out and said, no, you're good. Moderna, Pfizer guys, y'all good. Y'all good. Y'all ain't got to do nothing. But one thing they haven't said anything about was Moderna. That's what I got.
That's the one you got. Well, good for you and all the other Moderna people out there. Us Pfizer folks, we don't live like the rest of y'all. We live on the edge.
I'm just saying, but damn it, you can stay on the edge. You know what I mean?
Hey, at least it's not Johnson & Johnson. You know what I mean?
All the brothers, they say we want the Moderna. You know what I mean? You want to go jump off a mountain or something? You take the Pfizer.
Like I said, at least
we got another chat, man. We got.
We do.
When we get out of here. Super chat.
Network guy Dave Booker, what was it like working with The Rock? You weren't in WWE for that long, but you guys had a lot of chemistry with one another. The promos were great.
His promos were great.
Why are you so hard on yourself from this era?
Oh man, he cut a lot of good promos on me back then, man. I must say.
Yes, that's true.
You know what, man? You know what? You know why I'm like that, man? Because I don't toot my own horn.
Sure.
You know, people. I mean, of course, I've done a lot in the business, and you know, the championship reigns and whatnot. All of them were great, man. But I had fun, man. I had a lot of fun, and I know when I did really, really, really good, and I know when I was just average. You know, no one had to tell me when I was at my best. Right. I didn't have to look in the mirror and know if the guy next to me was working harder than I was. I didn't have to do that. You know, I'm talking about in the ring, in the gym, no matter what. I knew exactly what it worked. So I knew how good I was. But when I was working with someone like The Rock, I knew how good he was too. That's why he's where he is right now, doing what he's doing, in Hollywood. And people say, well, man, you could have did Hollywood too. Could I? Could I have done it, that well? That's yet to be, I don't know.
Right. It's
really, really hard to go out and compete with the best guys in the world on a weekly basis. You gotta will yourself to do it. You gotta give yourself confidence, even when you don't feel like you have that confidence. You gotta find it when it's not even there. And a lot of times when I was working, that's the way I was. I was like, okay, I'm here. What can I do?
Right.
Let's see if we can, knock it out of the park. It was one of those type of deals. But never once did I go into the theater of the wrestling ring and say, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I tried to do this and I tried to do that. And hopefully if people liked it at the end of the day, I know I did a good job. I know I was trying to do a good job. I know I wasn't phoning it in or anything like that. But in the business, you're thinking like a mile a minute. You're thinking 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. To be a really, really good wrestler, you got to be able to think that way. And for me, I'm still thinking that way. Doing this show, I got a thought in my head. I'll write it down just to make sure I can, equate it to something opposed to just talking about it. It's always, trying to better yourself. And I just want to say, if young people think that way out there going through life, you have a really, really good chance at being successful. A lot of times I've talked to my students about. You don't actually have to know how to do this. You just have to know you just have to act like you know how to do it. And you have to act like you know how to do it very, very well. And if you could do that, you could become one of the, best entertainers, performers, wrestlers in the world. Whatever you do, you can become the best at it, but you got to believe in yourself and make yourself believe in whatever it is in order to be able to get it done. And I'm just saying that out of, just giving that back to the young people because life is tricky. You could be you could be extraordinary at what you do, and people don't like you. You won't be around very long. You could be good at what you do, and people like you. You'll be around forever. Look at me. 30 years in business, and I'm still looking good. I'm still going strong. And you know what? The party's not over. We got a whole lot more. Hey, guys, I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank all the super chatters that put us over. Super chat. Man, it is today. I want to thank you guys. Brad, as always, man, couldn't do this without you. Hey, guys, Thursday, new show going down. The Indies, don't miss out, don't get shut out. But Wednesday, we'll be right back inside the Hall of Fame, getting your champagne wishes and caviar dreams right here, baby. But right now, we love you. We out.
Can you dig it?